Good morning and happy Friday. Thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering Robert Kraft reportedly warned the Falcons not to trust Bill Belichick. We'll also be talking about LeBron James focused for the Lakers Nuggets series. And we'll also be talking more on the College Football Super League. And make sure that you guys stick around for later in the show when we'll be diving into our Florida Man Friday segment for the week. Before we start, though, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is GSMCPodcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so I can see it, and it also really helps the show. Hello, Tate. How are you doing?
Hello, Miss Faith. We're starting out a little rough here.
Yes. Yeah.
So Faith and I were doing our little pre-prep everything, and
Little
then
chat.
Faith just froze on the screen here, like okay, hey Faith, what's going on? So we've already had some technical difficulties, but we work through these things.
Yeah. Listen,
And
I
we're
will
on.
say, I feel like in the past couple of weeks, we haven't really had any technical difficulties. So, you know,
Okay. Did you really want to say that out loud on air?
I mean, I mean,
You just
we
jinxed us. You know
announce
that, right?
we announce all the time that we have technical difficulties, and we had our technical difficulty today. It's already happened. So,
It
nothing.
normally happens on a Monday, so
Yeah. Oh well,
we
what are you
we we
gonna
got this. So, and then you have a fun weekend coming up. Anything exciting?
Yes. So yeah, I'm going to after the show, I'm gonna drive down 4 hour drive to go visit my parents. I'm very excited. I think in my hometown they're having some like blueberry festival, so I think we're gonna go do that this weekend. And then I'll probably visit a couple of my friends there as well. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm not looking forward to the 4 hour drive because it's like 2 hours on a back road highway and then 2 hours on the interstate. So it's not a very fun drive.
See, I like those. I miss those back road highways that the U.S. has. It's kind of cool driving
No.
through the country, especially in the South. I think it's really cool.
No, you always get stuck behind. So the back road highways are always usually like one lane, and you always get stuck behind a really slow driving semi, and it's so annoying. I would much rather do 4 hours on the interstate if I could. But
See, I'm going to clarify something because as an American, you're like, it's a one lane highway.
mhm.
That means there's enough room for one car to be on
Yes.
one side of the
Yeah.
road, then there's a divide, and then there's two
hmm
sides.
Yes.
Here, a one lane road or highway barely has enough room for one car. And in Spain,
hmm
oh my God. Like when I go to Spain, whenever I go to Seville,
hmm
I get to the outskirts of Seville. I find a place and I park, and then I call an Uber, even though I have a car, because the roads are so narrow that
hmm
I'm afraid to drive because you have to bend your turn your mirrors in because there's not enough room for your mirrors to be out
hmm
as you're driving down the road. The cars, I mean, the walls are that close to you. So,
Yes.
a little different.
Yeah.
So, all right then. So, what do you have for me today? You got some good
So,
stuff.
yes. So we actually have not discussed Bill Belichick in a while. But there's some uh new stuff about Bill Belichick, and why he did not earn the Atlanta Falcons job. So Robert Kraft reportedly warned the Atlanta Falcons not to trust Bill Belichick. The Atlanta Falcons' decision to pass on Bill Belichick during the coaching hiring cycle came as a surprise to many, but his former employer might have played a hand in preventing from getting the job. The new England Patriots owner Robert Kraft told Falcons owner Arthur Blank that if he were to hire his former head coach, he was not to trust Bill, ESPN reported on Wednesday. Kraft also told Blank that he's never had a warm conversation with Belichick, as he felt betrayed by the 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach over the final seasons of his 24-year tenure with the Patriots, according to ESPN. Additionally, Kraft believed that Belichick was extremely difficult to work with and that the coach was kind of stubborn, in addition to being very arrogant, as he viewed the coach was not worthy of his trust. Patriots spokesperson Stacey James denied on Kraft's behalf that he spoke poorly of Belichick to Blank during the hiring process, but might have said some negative things prior to the Falcons' hiring process. Robert steadfastly denies saying anything negative to Arthur Blank about Bill Belichick, but after Bill and Robert mutually agreed to part ways, James told ESPN. In fact, Robert advocated for Bill to get the job. It would not surprise me to learn that owners sometimes laminate to those close to them when their teams are struggling, James added. But Robert Kraft never questioned Bill's character or trust when talking with Arthur Blank. Trust is important to Robert. He wouldn't have employed Coach Belichick for the past 24 years if he ever questioned his trust. The report from ESPN comes over 3 months after Kraft and Belichick agreed to mutually part ways following a 4-13 season, officially ending one of the greatest runs in NFL history. It also comes 2 months after the debut of the Apple TV Plus docuseries The Dynasty, which covers the Patriots' historic run, but has been criticized by former players for being too negative on their former head coach. Kraft admitted in the series that he had tough moments with Belichick, especially towards the end of Tom Brady's tenure with the team, as the quarterback's relationship with the head coach deteriorated.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I want you to go back in this article, and there's a point where he talks about what the article says that Arthur Blank said to Atlanta about never having, you can't trust them, warm conversations. Go down each one of those one at a time. I'm going to answer. I want to comment on each one of those because I think these are the important key points to this. Do you know what I'm talking about? I know I kind of threw you for a loop there, but
there isn't necessarily like a list in this article.
Well, he kind of says that he said never had a warm conversation.
Oh,
Can't trust him.
yeah. Hold
Yes.
on. Let's see. Where's that?
And there's a reason for this. First off, everything that he has said, everything that was said in this article are all things that I have heard or have been reported on about the Patriots and about Bill Belichick for years. The same kind of things were reported when Belichick was in Cleveland. After he left in Cleveland, and then became the Baltimore Ravens and things after that, some of these same things were said before. If one person says it, it's hearsay. The second person, that's called being a second source here. Did you find it?
Yeah. So
all right, just go one at a time. I want to answer at each one of those. Go ahead.
New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft told Falcons owner Robert Blank that if he were to hire his former head coach, he was not to trust Bill. So that's one.
Not to trust Bill. There's a few things that come up with this that didn't surprise me. The first thing is I know that Robert Kraft was very upset with Bill because Bill Belichick was saying that Brady was washed and that it was time to move on. He can't do it anymore. And he was trying to he wanted to move forward with Jimmy G, and Kraft overruled him for Tom Brady. But Belichick wanted Brady out. Eventually, he trusted Belichick, let Brady go, and then sit there and watch Brady win the Super Bowl again the very next year. Totally, upset Robert Kraft. And that's where the trust issue came into play. It's one of those things where he's been, a lot of the things that Belichick has said has been, Robert Kraft's kind of gone back and looked at it and been like, okay, I'm not happy about it. They talk about how they came in to the draft, and there's been numerous times where the scouting department and they came in with a game plan of what they're going to draft, and then Belichick comes in and overrules them. And no one's prepared for it, and he kind of blindsides them and makes his own pick. Give me the next one.
Let's see. Kraft also told Blank that he'd never had a warm conversation with Belichick as he felt betrayed by the 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach over the final seasons of his 24 tenure with the Patriots.
Okay. Well, okay. Just look at Bill Belichick. What about Bill Belichick says warm conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing about Bill Belichick gives you the warm and fuzzies. So if you're an owner wanting to have a good relationship with your coach, and one thing people don't realize is players talk to players, owners talk to owners, coaches talk to coaches. And when they start talking and some of these rumors come out, how can anyone be shocked to find out that Robert Kraft said you can't have a warm, like, bonding conversation with him. He's very hard, he's very private, he's very secretive. And so, you're not going to have a warm conversation with him. There's no connection there. Is there a couple other ones?
He additionally, Kraft believed that Belichick was extremely difficult to work with and that the coach was kind of stubborn, in addition to being very arrogant, as he viewed the coach was not worthy of his trust.
Okay. There's been many talks that Belichick kind of thought he was better than everyone else, especially once Belichick started winning in New England. There's been a number of players that have talked about how Belichick just becomes kind of insensitive, just brutally honest, very arrogant. And then the ability to not trust him, as I talked about before. Imagine you see your team starting to slide. You come in with a game plan. Okay, we're gonna go get this player. We want to go to this player, this player, this player. And then the player's available. The player that you guys have been scouting, your whole scout team, everyone's agreed on, you're going to go and pick. And Belichick, there's been numerous cases where Belichick is like, no, we're taking this guy. Didn't let the organization know until the time it came to draft him. Then he waved off his team and picked the other player. And if you look at Belichick, during this time, if you look at what's the downfall of the Patriots, it was Belichick's drafting ability. He was not a good selector of talent in the draft. Wide receivers, for the longest time, he had Julian Edelman, but that was it. They went out and they traded for Randy Moss, but they never really went out. The offensive weapons was Bill Belichick's major weakness. Then them going out and getting they went out and they're okay, we're gonna go get Cam Newton. This is who we're gonna work with. And then they decided to draft Mac Jones out of nowhere. They cut Cam Newton before even seeing what they had with Cam Newton. They bring Mac Jones up. They let Mac Jones play. He makes a Pro Bowl. They switch out offensive coordinators and give Mac Jones, their quarterback, a defensive coordinator to be the offense. Your rookie, your second year quarterback gets a defensive coordinator as offensive coordinator to work with him. What part of a defensive coordinator says, hey, I want this guy to develop my quarterback of the future? My whole point is, if you step back from it and you look at it as if you have a good relationship with someone, another owner, and another owner comes to you and says, hey, Robert, we're thinking about hiring Bill Belichick. Why did you let him go? This is what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking around and you're saying, he's old. He's been quite arrogant. He hasn't drafted well. He doesn't take recommendations from your scouting department. These are all things that a owner bringing in a new coach has to look at. And then you look at a team that, even with Tom Brady there, Tom Brady was consistently taking team-friendly deals, one after another. And you see the number of weapons that Tom Brady was able to work with kept getting worse and worse and worse. But they looked at Brady and they said he was washed up.
Mm-hmm.
The minute that he went to Tampa Bay and he had weapons again, he won the Super Bowl. He lit the NFL up. That showed right there that Belichick was the one that was having the problems with getting him weapons. Brady wasn't washed up.
Mm-hmm.
Belichick just did not. I feel like Belichick's ability to take recommendations from the coaching staff and scouting department, Belichick's inability to stick with the game plan that was laid out by the organization. When you look at Robert Kraft having to step in and overrule him on more than one occasion, how do you expect an owner who's talking to another owner to recommend Bill Belichick? And then if you're another team, if you're a team owner and you're thinking about giving this guy the keys to your franchise, the greatest coach ever, and you look around, you're like, he's 71. He's not a Atlanta type guy in general. And you sit down with the owner and you're like, whoa, you're not getting the warm fuzzies. It starts to make you think. And then you start looking at the track record of Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. Yes, many people brought up, well, he did make a playoff with the Browns. Look at his history with the Browns. It was incredibly long. It was year after year, losing season after losing season after losing seasons. He did not start winning until Tom Brady got there, and then Brady had a very team-friendly contract because he was a late round draft pick. Then he started taking team-friendly deals to get weapons. And still, Bill Belichick's ability to grab high-end players and draft quality wide receivers and offensive weapons kept failing him, even with a quarterback that was taking team-friendly deals. Ultimately, looking at it, I agree with Atlanta for not taking him. You look at all of that and the fact that he's 71, not a guy that has shown over the year that he is very flexible, and an owner that's saying, this guy will stab you in the back. It's all right there. This is one of the reasons why I always say, don't burn bridges, because you never know if you may need to cross that bridge again.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it definitely came back to haunt him. What do you say on some of this?
Yeah,
Before we wrap it up here,
I definitely agree. My only thing about this though is how Robert Blank is claiming that he didn't say any of this to anybody.
I mean, Robert Kraft.
Yeah, that's what I
You
mean.
said
Yeah, Robert
you said
Kraft.
Robert Blank. You just combined Arthur Blank and Robert Kraft together,
Yeah,
which is
excuse me.
awesome.
Sorry.
No.
So, them saying that Robert Kraft didn't say any of this to Arthur Blank and him denying it, at this point it's just like, dude, just admit that you said the stuff. I mean, at this point, with everything that's happened with Bill Belichick anyway, like, he's probably I don't see Bill Belichick getting another coaching job. I think that after him leaving the Patriots was donezo for him. So, I mean, just admit to what you said.
The court of public opinion is very fickle. And as an owner, you don't want to be seen as bitter or petty. So sometimes you can't.
I wouldn't call that bitter or petty. I would call that being honest.
You would not. But think about the New England media, the Boston area media, who has watched Bill Belichick win all these championships with Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And he is beloved in that area, beloved. And that's coming out. This is getting out here saying that the owner is saying bad things about the guy that they love. You don't want as an owner to have the city turn against you. So it's a wise decision, even though I do believe, this is me speculating on what I believe, because everything that he said, I felt like was absolutely true from what I have seen, strictly from what I have seen. So you can't argue with the fact that Belichick is stubborn, that he's an older coach, that sometimes, the way he runs his team, it's kind of very old school, not modern way, where Atlanta's trying to become more of a progressive, more modern type team. Going back to the good old days may not be the best decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see, I've said this before, I don't see him getting another job unless it's a really bad job or Kansas City's Andy Reid decides to retire, because then that's a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
But most places are trying to get younger, more progressive, and you have a coach when you're trying to become more more of a modern type team, more progressive, using analytics, and you're thinking about Bill Belichick, who's not really an analytics guy, not really a progressive guy. He's very old school. I say no.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
All right.
Oh, alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about LeBron James is focused on the here and now in the Lakers-Nuggets series. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.